Here.
Powell, Cavell,
Here.
Smith Charles, Spiz,
Present.
Markham.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is approval of the previous minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Taylor, supported by Commissioner Long. All in favor of approving the agenda, or the minutes of the previous meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Next up is approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Taylor, supported by Commissioner Long. Any additions or changes anybody sees? Okay, we did have a question about, we had two items that came before EDI that only one of them showed up on finance, and that's because they were different. So one doesn't have to be here.
Do we ignore this voting thing?
Yeah, we're gonna ignore this. She's gonna.
I heard you say, oops.
It's okay. Just making sure the system
Yes,
works.
it's all good. It worked.
Okay, all right. With that, let's vote on approval of the minutes. All in favor say, or I mean, today's agenda, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our next item is our first public comment. It's for anybody, any item on our current agenda today. Is there anyone from the public here in the room or online that would like to speak at this time? Seeing no one, I will close our first public comment. We do have a second one at the end of the meeting. Our next item are department recommendations. The first item is item 7A, application for the fiscal year 2026 Michigan Indigent Defense Commission grant. We need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Good
Good morning,
morning.
Commissioners. So my name is Pete Mena. I manage the Indigent Defense Services Office. Next to me is Paulette Lofton, who is our Chief Public Defender. This is our annual grant application. Normally, we don't do a PowerPoint for this application, but I know we have Commissioner Spiz and Commissioner Taylor who are have joined finance this year. So I did put a brief PowerPoint together. I figured you would have reviewed it.
So I was part of Health and Human Services.
So cut me off at any time. The interesting thing about our grant though is, we do have our annual budget presentation just like every other department. But really the grant application is in effect our budget presentation because we are almost completely state grant funded. So we apply for this annual grant. We only have one employee in our entire, between both of our departments that's general fund. Everyone else is grant funded. So when we make this application to the state, this is really what our budget is gonna be for FY26. I always start with this slide because I think it's important to remind everyone about what indigent defense is. And this is one of those few things that we do in government that we have a constitutional duty to provide to our citizens. We do a lot of other things in government because they're good for people and they help people, but very few of those things are actually required by the Constitution. So we have to provide a lawyer to anyone who is charged with a crime who cannot afford their own lawyer. Currently, that is only for adults. However, there is a bill in the legislature right now that would also expand that, bring the juvenile delinquencies potentially out from under the court and into our department. But that hasn't happened yet. That's still in the legislature. So because Oakland County funds the 6th Circuit Court and the 4 divisions of the 52nd District Court, that's considered our indigent defense system, those 5 different courts. So obviously that's all the felony cases, because they all come to circuit, and then all of the misdemeanor cases within the 52nd District. So the MIDC, the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, it's a division within the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, and they propose statewide standards for how indigent defense must be provided. And we are required to comply with those standards once we get a grant from the state for the money that we need to do so. So really, that's why we're here today, is to lay out for you as commissioners, here is our grant application. It's different from most other grants because it's statutorily required. This is not a grant that we just kind of want to get. We have to submit an annual grant application. So that tells the MIDC how we are going to provide indigent defense services and how much money we need in order to do that. Once we submit this, we will have a period of about 2 to 3 weeks where the MIDC may make some minor changes to our submission, may come back to us and ask us to tweak a few things. But pretty much by the end of April, this is submitted, it's finalized with the state, and they will either approve it or deny it. Assuming that they approve our plan, the application, as you can see in front of you, is for approximately $21.7 million in grant funding. And then we are legally required to contribute our local share. That local share always hovers around that 1.8 million mark. It goes up every year by 3% or CPI, whichever is less. But the interesting thing about it is it doesn't compound, so it always resets to its first level, and then so really the maximum that it can go up is only 3%. So it's always gonna be right around that 1.8 million. We are then, our responsibility for grant compliance is every quarter we submit reports to the MIDC showing all of our financials, all of the attorney appointments that we've made, all of the money that we've spent on salaries, on attorneys, on everything else that we spend money on. So the MIDC gets quarterly reports from us. And obviously they're able to audit us anytime that they want. And we have our own internal fiscal services department that is a check over our financials as well. This is what our total budget pays for. So you can see really there's a lot of things under this umbrella. The biggest bucket is the attorney fees that we pay to our independent contractor attorneys. We are a hybrid system, and so what that means is we provide many of our services through independent contractors. We pay them an hourly rate. We also are lucky enough to have an internal public defender's office run by an amazing public defender, and her office is all county employees. And so we do have a subset of our caseload that we are able to assign to that internal office that can be handled by county employees. We try to do that for some of the more complex cases because they can put multiple people on it. They've got a lot more internal resources than an independent contractor would have. So Paulette has 26, well, in this grant with the employees that are being added next year, she would have 26 employees. That's not all lawyers. That's also support staff as well. She has paralegals. She has social workers on her staff. She also has investigators on her staff as well. So if this grant submission is approved, we would actually have 17 lawyers in the public defender's office, along with all of their support staff. And of course, we pay for expert and investigator fees. So when our attorneys need expert or investigator assistance, they send in a form to me saying, here's what I want to do, and this is how much money I need to do it. And I approve those, and then we pay those experts or investigators. We are required to pay for any court transcripts that a defense attorney orders, so that's a fairly big bucket of money. Transcript fees are, I think the per page fee is almost tripled next year by statute, so that'll be a significant increase there. Office supplies, our legal research and case management software. And of course, one of the other things that we've really tried to tighten up is, as you know, with a lot of areas in the county is those indirect costs. And so we really worked hard to identify, not only through our Maximus study that we get every year, but also some other ancillary things like building space allocation, the quarterly IT maintenance charges, those kind of things. We incorporate into this grant, so we make sure we're getting money from the state to cover all of those indirect costs. The reason that I am here and that this office even exists is because of MIDC Standard 5. So about 3.5 years ago, we had to bring all of the attorney appointment functions outside of the judiciary. So that's why this office was created, to be separate from the court. We report to the county executive. And so that's kind of why we are here rather than the court running this program. And as I already said, we have a hybrid model, so we have an in-house public defender's office. We're hoping next year, we're aiming for a 80-20 split. So we think that Paulette will have enough lawyers in her office to be able to take 20% of our total caseload, which would be really helpful. This obviously is a lot of lines and colors, but the point of this graph is just to kind of show you what our monthly appointment numbers are.
Spiz loves it.
I spent 20 minutes looking at this.
I put this in specifically for commissioners.
My only question is the definition between category 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, so category 1 is capital cases, anything that's a life offense. Category 2 is anything where it's punishable by over 5 years but less than life. Category 3 is between 2 to 5 years, and category 4 will be anything 2 years, punishable by 2 years. So these are, and this is just felonies. So this does not even touch our misdemeanor caseload, but I just kind of wanted to show you what our numbers kind of look like. Obviously, I did this before March was over, but March we had 463 felony appointments, so we're back on the upswing in March. These are some of the other things that we do. Each month, we have about 125 felony probation violations, about 250 misdemeanor appointments a month, and then we provide daily arraignment attorneys in the Oakland County Jail, actually 3 of them, and 1 daily arraignment attorney for each of our 52nd district courts. So that's 7 attorneys a day. You can see how having a public defender's office who could take up some of those spots will really be effective. I always tell people, we didn't create the public defender's office to save money. We created the public defender's office to improve the quality of our representation. But we do have some areas where we are seeing money savings as a welcome side effect of having employees be able to do some of this stuff. So what we're asking of you today is approval for us to submit this grant application. And we will, of course, be back in front of you. We typically find out at the June MIDC meeting. They meet every 2 months. So if we submit this in April, we typically find out at the June meeting if it's been approved. And we'll be back in front of you for acceptance.
Okay, I'll open it up to the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Long.
Thank you. Did it show up on your end?
Did not.
No, I put it on here too, and it's not on my end either. Thank you. I just have a quick question. A juvenile, I think that might have been the first I heard. So if they don't get a public defender, can their parents apply for the public defender to defend them? How does that work?
They do currently get an appointed attorney. It's just that it would be the same where all of the appointments would be taken out from the court. So they have attorneys now. So they're just appointed by the court.
Okay, so I misunderstood that. And then what's the juvenile, the age, because wasn't it going to change? Is it now, what is it currently?
So you're probably thinking of the raise the age legislation,
Yes.
which made it, it used to be you could charge a 17-year-old
Okay,
automatically as an adult, which you can't do anymore.
okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Okay.
so now 18 is the normal age. There are some ways you can charge people as an adult, obviously, even if they're under 18.
Okay, all
But-
right, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Commissioner Cavell.
What happens, you said the MIDC approves your grant in June. What happens if, just thinking about changes in funding streams, is this funded through like state general fund?
Yes,
Okay, so then that is not impacted but through a federal grant as well.
correct. We don't have any concerns about it. There's a small training program that the MIDC has run through a burn JAG grant that's gonna be impacted, but in general, we have no impact
Cool.
federally.
And then you put on one of the slides about the 80-20 split and that you'll have 17 public defenders. How many attorneys does the prosecutor have, right? Because that's what happens is the prosecutor and the public defender. go
So
up against each
the
other.
prosecutor has many more people in their office,
Sure.
but they handle many more different types of cases. So they handle child support cases, they handle juvenile cases, and then they handle all of the district courts in Oakland County, not just the 52s. So it would make sense that they would have a lot more people in their office.
Okay, and the 80-20 split, are you trying to go from 80-20 to eventually 20-80 or something?
Yeah, I will be honest, I don't think we'll ever get to 20-80. My goal would be like 50-50 or even a 60-40. Space is always a concern. We have to know that we have the space to actually house those people if we were gonna hire that many people. There are always conflict cases, where there's co-defendants, the office can't represent two co-defendants. So you always have to have that buffer with a roster of attorneys. But I personally think if we got to a 50-50 split, that would be the sweet spot.
And this is part of why you lifted that up, is that's part of your trajectory.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the last question is, what you mentioned about daily arraignments, those 7 attorneys, what's the goal or impact of that?
So the reason that those attorneys are important, prior to the MIDC standards, a defendant who is getting arraigned, so that's their first appearance before a judge, when the judge is telling them, here's what your bond is gonna be. Before the MIDC standards, they had no attorney to represent them. They were just on their own. So as you can imagine, if no one's advocating for you, you're gonna see bonds that are a lot higher, bond conditions that potentially are unnecessary, depending on the circumstances. And so now there's an attorney at every arraignment. Everyone gets an attorney to represent them and argue on their behalf in that very first court hearing. So it's really critical. I mean, we know that even 3 days in jail, so a bond that you can't post, even 3 to 5 days in jail, you lose your job, you lose your, there's a cycle there. So we wanna make sure that those people who don't need to be in jail can get out early, and these attorneys help to do that.
Thank you. Thanks.
That would be interesting. It would be interesting to see the progression.
Yeah.
Since you started doing this to where we're at today, what has been the impact? I don't know the questions to ask
Yeah.
necessarily, but you do. You know what the effect has been.
Yeah.
So it would be good to have a report on that at some point, I think.
I think a graph would be great.
A graph, yeah, that would
Yeah.
make Commissioner Spiz really happy.
even see that.
Well,
grass.
Right, and I will
Doesn't wanna
admit a
get
lot of
glasses. He
that
can't read.
data is
He likes grass.
probably not compiled in a centralized way, except for, we would probably, to do a lot of that, would wanna bring in Eric Schmidt from Pretrial Justice Services. Because they probably have a better consolidated data for those bond amounts.
It would be good to know. Yeah. We're spending a lot of money and we've changed our process and we all think it's working, so it would be good to have data that tells us that. Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments?
He gets bonus points for the graph, so.
Seeing none, let's prompt the vote, please.
There's 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming in today. Next up, we have item 7B, continuation of Oakland County's 911 charge rate. Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Good morning.
Okay, thank you for seeing us today. I'm Pat Coates, I'm your retiring Oakland County 911 coordinator. Meredith Morgan is your current 911 coordinator, and I'm still here part-time to assist her because she's got some pretty major projects coming up that don't happen every year. So, what's before you is the continuation of the 911 fee, which under the 911 statute can be assessed by the Board of Commissioners up to an amount of 42 cents per billable device within Oakland County. You have been at 42 cents for many years. Historically, this started right around 2000 when Oakland County decided to provide a radio system for all of public safety in Oakland County. And we needed funding for that. This is still the primary source of the funding for the radio system that all of your police and fire use so that they don't have to pay user fees, which would not go well. So, some of you will recall I used to have to come to you every year because the statute at the time required a resolution every year, even if you weren't changing the amount of the fee. In 2019, the law changed so that we don't have to come back to you every year for a resolution if the fee is staying the same. And that was fortunate because then a few months later, COVID hit. And trying to have regular meetings and presentations became a real challenge. The state just said, okay, let your old resolutions go. We'll let those ride while we're under this state of emergency. But it is time that you should look at this again. Our language from the 2019 resolution is the one that's still in effect. And while we're not changing anything, the amount stays the same. It's time to refresh the dates in the resolution so that it's at least current. And the state would like us to do that. So that is why this is coming before you. You're not changing anything, including the amount, if this is approved.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Commissioner Cavell?
This is a little tangential, but you went to Lansing and testified against the minimum wage and earned paid sick time stuff?
We did not testify against it. I was
Yeah.
representing the Michigan Communication Directors. We
Yeah.
remained neutral on the bill
Yeah.
itself. Our concern was, actually, everybody is in favor of paid sick time. Obviously, I don't wanna sit next to a sick person who had to come into work because they couldn't take it off.
Commissioner Cavell, this is really off topic,
But I
and
was
we have a
asking,
long agenda.
no, I understand, but
Our concern
Yeah, I
was
didn't know where that
the
came from.
ability to not show up for 3 days and not call,
yeah,
which was in there, which is, it is impossible to staff a 911 center
yeah,
if people just don't show up and don't call.
sure.
So we wanted some language in there that existing policies and procedures within the 911 center could still be applicable.
Right,
So that people just didn't think, oh, I don't have to show up and I don't have to call, because that means somebody else who's just worked a very long shift under a lot of stress has to stay.
right.
So I was not opposed to it, the Michigan Communications were not opposed to it, we just wanted that language tweaked.
And then you went there not on behalf of Oakland County?
No, I did not.
Did you have to call in sick to your boss
No.
to do that?
Commissioner,
Okay.
I'm part-time.
Just wanted
to move
to
on.
know, okay.
I'm
We need to
part-time,
move on.
I don't
Alright.
have any sick time.
Cool.
just part-time. Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have you heard of any discussion to increase this 42? Because I know when we went to 42 5-6 years ago, that was the max and it helped pay for the radios that we have today.
Yes.
The original plan, that's why
It
we
is
did
still
back
the
then.
max. What we do with the legislation every time we renew it in Lansing is we put in a sunset clause because technology changes, funding needs change. What you can do is 42 cents is the max you can do by a board resolution. You can go up to $3 by a vote of the people if you want to increase that. The sunset on the legislation right now is 2027, and even though I'm retiring, I've been asked to stay on by a couple of the associations to help with the rewrite of the bill because I've done it longer than most of them have been alive. So, one of the things I would like to suggest in the next rewrite is that 42 cents be increased. There has been no inflationary increase. Even a few pennies in a county like Oakland makes a huge difference because of the number of devices in this county. So if we could get it to 45 or 50 cents by board resolution and then the remainder by a vote of the people, that would be something that we could look at. Because the way 911 devices are billed has changed a lot over the years. Most of the money now goes to the state. Our money is actually decreasing in Oakland County because people are moving away from billable devices and having contracts to buying their service on the internet. And that money goes to the state, not to us.
Thank you.
It's interesting. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote, please. to come up? Yes.
You have 78, 0 nays.
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you.
I will.
Yeah.
I still haven't sent any speakers.
No, there's just one.
Okay, our next item is item 7C, the 2025 equalization report. Take a motion. Moved by Commissioner Taylor, supported by Commissioner Powell.
Equalization.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you introduce yourselves?
Good morning, members of the Finance Committee. My name is Terry Schultz. I serve as Chief in Equalization. Also joining with me today is Tiffany Jacob. She's a supervisor in the Equalization Department.
Yeah.
And to my right, Amanda Marshall, who's also a chief within the Equalization Department. We are here today on behalf of Equalization Officer Michael Lohmeyer, who was unable to attend today. The reason why we're here is we are seeking and presenting the 2025 equalization report for your approval. This report confirms that the assessments of both real property and personal property have been uniformly assessed as well as equitably assessed. The recommended 2025 equalized value is roughly 113.4 billion, which equates to just roughly over 6.3% increase from 2024. While the taxable value for 2025 is 84.6 billion, which works out to be just over 5.3% from last year. This information you can find in the report on page 6. The following page 7 also provides a breakdown of the assessed and taxable value by percentage of classification. As you'll see, 3/4 of the value here in Oakland County is made up of residential property. I'll just flip. And for more detail, you can find on page 10 by community is essentially the total assessed and taxable value for all the communities within Oakland County. And pages 11 will address the real property by community. In page 12, the assessed and taxable value for personal property by each community in the county. Again, we are here to present this information for approval. At this time, I'll be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Okay, Commissioner Powell.
So this is, so just recently, would this had affected I'm a new homeowner, so I'm just learning. I'm on the learning curve here. So my mortgage went up like $200-300 a month. So is this increase, is this what this caused, like our property increase and stuff? Is
It could
that,
be-
or is it something
Could
totally
be multiple
different?
things.
Are you being new?
It could be multiple things.
Okay, great. I'll talk to homeowners. My
listening.
assistant, okay, great.
I'm
Okay,
listening.
never mind. That's it.
Multiple things.
I just was wondering, cause I'm like, you know, I've been talking to, and my sister she live in Lake Orion, hers went up about $500
That's part of it, but there's
a
other things. It could
month
be escrow,
per
it could be
mortgage.
anything
So
that
I
changes.
just was trying to figure out what is really going on here. Okay, but that's
Is it the
thank you.
taxes, the tax piece of your mortgage
Escrow's usually
or
paid,
the
which is
whatever,
everything.
so yeah.
Okay, so
talk
yeah,
to
that's
your
a,
lender, she
yeah,
can
I
help
talked
you.
to, yeah, thank you, sorry. Yeah, yeah, I was like, holy shit.
Okay, did you have any other questions, Commissioner
It's
Powell?
getting hot out here.
It's on your list.
Yeah, I know. Next up is Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming in. I just have a couple generic questions. Just looking at all the charts, which I appreciate, by the way, I usually pick out the flyers, right? For some reason, Auburn Hills only saw an increase of 0.89%. Do we know why? And then on the opposite side, we saw, I think, Royal Oak Township saw a rise of 15%.
Yeah.
So do we know why? And if you go farther on, some of them actually were negative, which might determine why Auburn Hills went down in the overall summary, but I think they had a negative 10.
Oh, that's personal.
Negative.
Yeah.
What are you on,
Yeah, negative
taxable
10%.
variable, you're on real property, right?
Right, but the overall combines both of them, so I'm just,
Yeah.
what's driving that in some cases?
I think
Auburn Hills makes sense probably because of
Commissioner
Atlas,
Smith,
but
Auburn Hill, your question would pertain to Auburn Hills, essentially, I think is coming from the commercial class, which could be driven from office type properties or just the commercial class in general. Do I have specifics for you? No, but I'll be happy to look into that.
yeah, please do. My guess is the Palace no longer being
Oh,
there.
could be.
That's
there.
my guess is a major part of that, may not all of it, but major part of that. But for Royal Oak Township, that was kind of a flyer for me.
Royal Township is the utilities, so the increase in utilities, so DTE and
Which you're on, real property or the other
I started.
personal?
DTE Consumers Energy, sorry, those were
So their
both,
sites.
those both increased, yep, in value.
Okay.
So their filings increased overall. Cause there's not many,
What's
there's
it
not.
combined?
Yeah, and then, like Addison Township too on page 12, I think of your packet, one of 21.96%.
Okay, that's where you're on.
Let me just look, oh, different, that's personal property.
That's personal, that's what I was asking, what chart you're on.
I didn't know if there was any significant flyers in any of those that drove those major shifts.
It's probably just the makeup of the communities, like one's more of a bedroom community. Auburn Hills has all of that industry on the north side, Chrysler, and they are building on the old Palace site, so you won't see that. The measurement date is December 31st. So wherever they were at, December 31st is the measurement that we'll see. So next year, December 31st, you might see an increase if they've completed that build where the old Palace was.
And that I fully understand, I guess my request would be maybe in the future, or maybe a follow-up to this, some of those flyers, what's driving them? And utilities make sense, but some of the other communities, like Addison, is very small. I mean, really small, and see an increase of 22% in Addison is like, why?
Yeah.
You know, they haven't really added anything that I recall in Addison Township. So it's just one of those flyers, and it's,
For personal property, is you're seeing the 22%, correct?
Yeah.
So again, it's probably the utilities, cause all the utilities increased. That's personal property, it's a self-reporting tax, so we have to go based on what
What they
they
report.
submit to us and report to us.
and that would make sense.
And they were overall, all the utilities were up, so that's where we saw the most increases.
How much were the utilities up percentage wise? Do you know, is it in here? I didn't look at that close.
It'd be different for each community, each parcel number, so we could get a breakdown for you, but it's gonna be,
Yeah, I don't
it's
need
gonna
detail,
it'd be different. We'd have to look at each personal property statement filing to get you increase individually by community, but we can get that for you.
but- Yeah, please, I'm just, what drives up utilities anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the property, I know it's a property value to a perspective,
It's usually what they're doing is replacing, a lot of it's replacing existing structures.
so they're upgrading their current
They're upgrading.
technology per
So
se and it's driving.
the stuff, the assets that have been depreciated are falling off the books and they're replacing it with new construction.
Cause that's the personal property piece, it doesn't have anything to do with the land
Right.
itself, it has to do with what they put
Put
on
On their personal
Yeah,
property.
got it.
Correct.
Yeah, on their form.
Anybody else? Commissioner Smith Charles?
Yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation. I had a dream where it was you and me and Cheryl and Brian and Chairman about equalization, but I don't know if that information is embargoed. So as of right now, I'm probably a no on this, cause I feel like deja vu, but the bad kind. So I'm probably a absolute yes at full board, but just to make sure that I'm aligning with my confusion, I have to vote no, but it's just because I need to remind myself what we talked about.
Okay. Commissioner Cavell?
I thought I understood the difference between real and personal property, but then we started talking about this. So I have a couple quick questions, which Cheryl, I think you said it, if I understand right,
It's the
it's
land.
personal property is like the land, or real estate is the land.
Real
And then-
property is, yep.
And then, yeah, real property. And then you build a house or a factory or a transformer for a utility.
Still real.
No,
What's-
it's
okay.
the real property is the land and the house.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
The personal property
the
is
stuff in it,
for a business, it's the stuff inside.
inside.
Oh,
The
the
equipment, the
And
And they do
contents,
a tax, you do a form
Yeah.
Office
tax.
like the machinery
Got
and
it.
things like that when it's a factory. Cause we don't, like, if you own a house, you don't pay personal property
Right.
tax on
Well,
what
they're
you own.
businesses.
So Charlie, you do a
It's just for
form.
businesses.
So then,
Sorry.
the utilities self-report what's inside their building in Addison Township.
Right.
Self-report.
Everybody self, we
Everybody
all,
self-report.
well, we self-report our income tax, it's the same thing.
Okay, oh, that's
Same
what you
thing.
mean, okay,
Yeah.
got it,
Yes.
okay, alright,
It's a
understood.
form, Charlie.
Yeah,
It's a form,
okay.
like another
Okay.
form you do
I thought it was some sort of
for business.
sneaky deal
No.
that DT got.
It's been around, it's been around.
Two copiers, but they put forward.
I have a question about no-buy under the personal property. First of all, it says their assessed value in 2024 was very small compared to all these other communities. And then 2025, same thing, it went up quite a bit, 152%, but I think that's because it was originally a small number. It seems out of whack for all these other communities. I mean, it's only 168 million.
So Novi Township, because there's so few parcels.
Oh, it's Novi Township,
That's
I'm
Novi
sorry.
Township at the top.
I'm sorry.
There's so few
I understand.
parcels,
I
there's only one personal
She knows.
property and it's the DTE
She knows now when you say
utility.
it.
I get it. I
100% because
I represent
What they
the
file.
city of and the township. And
City's
that
thinking
was
the
the
city,
township and I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
thank you.
there's only a few parcels.
Yeah, gotcha.
As she knows well.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
She's got that little Northville part now.
Our analyst wants to weigh in here.
Just a quick update for the commissioners. You have the report in front of you today, and certainly I don't want to interpret any dreams that commissioners have, but we may be remembering that next month we'll be having the assessing contracts with our local communities that are gonna be coming forward. So they are two separate things.
Unrelated?
It's
Yeah,
unrelated.
it's unrelated, but
To
that
this.
is often, you know,
Yes.
what is thought about. as things
Unrelated
went.
and they're going up.
This
It's a
is
statute.
This is a statutory requirement.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
this report is a statutory requirement of the
You're
state.
thinking of it.
And so you will have more
Yeah.
options with those contracts in
Right.
negotiating those.
It's my
This one is,
thinking
you know,
it's going up.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Gotcha.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh, I dreamt that I was going on a cruise and I was late.
Okay, is there anything else?
It's in my plane.
Seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote. Thank you. I did give it this time.
Oh, good. You have 7 yeas, zero nays?
Okay, motion carries, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have
On their own.
8, which is the Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee recommendations. Item 8A is pledging the Oakland County's full faith and credit to issue bonds for improvements to the Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drainage District.
I move.
Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Powell. Good morning.
Morning.
Please introduce yourselves and the floor is yours.
I'm Ben Lewis, I'm Assistant Chief Engineer at the Water Resource Commissioner's Office.
I'm Laura Bassett, attorney with Dickinson Wright, and I am bond counsel to the Water Resource Commissioner's Office.
And we also have with us Brian Burke. Or Steve Burke, sorry Steve.
Okay.
So we're here requesting the full faith and credit of the county to proceed with the project for the Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drainage District, which is a $14 million project, which will be our last step in completing an administrative consent order, ACO, that was issued some years ago. This will get us out of that. It helps eliminate sanitary sewer overflows, infiltration and inflow into the system. We've got 5 project areas, which was in the packet to complete this. The Melrose Weir site, which is at Evergreen north of 8 Mile. Got the Gliwa meter site along 8 Mile Road east of Southfield. Siphon removal west of Southfield, just north of 8 Mile. Some meter work at in Lathrop Village at the Lathrop site, which is 11 Mile in Evergreen. And we also have work at our Walnut 1 pump station, which is near 14 Mile in Inkster. So with that, if there's any questions, we'd be more than happy to entertain it.
Okay, I'll open the floor, starting with Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, thank you for coming. How long have we been working on this project? Because it seemed to go back 5, 6, 8, 10 years since we
On
first
this
started the
particular,
project.
on the ACO, American,
No, they connect to the Evergreen Farmington.
well, we've been working for years on the Evergreen Farmington
Yeah,
system,
that's what I
years
thought.
and
It
years.
just
And we,
reminds me every time you come in.
yeah, and we'll continue. It's a huge system, there's a map included.
Right.
But the administrative consent order, I think, has been,
20 years. It was just-
2020.
yeah,
Thank you.
hopefully this, well, this is, as far as we know, is the last piece and we'll be at 2019.
Anybody else have a question? Commissioner Cavell, followed by Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Well, just because of what Commissioner Spitz said, so, looking at this different now.
He's gotta come over to
So, yeah. So, does this then means the state told us to put in sanitary sewer overflows, and this is what prompted the work?
To prevent sanitary sewer overflows.
To prevent overflows and basement backups, okay,
Yes,
got
and
it.
that's where we're requesting here on
Got
this
it.
project, hopefully the last piece.
And what we get from the state as a result of this state order is being able to, we always can access the state revolving fund monies, but we still gotta borrow the money. We still gotta do the work, and they're not giving us any money for that.
No, we're going to the state to borrow money at a low interest loan, but we still have to pay it essentially.
Right.
Asking for your full faith and credit behind only.
You say we.
The drainage
This feels,
district.
yeah, so another way to say that though is it is an unfunded mandate from the state. If this is an administrative consent order, we have to pay for fixing what they told us we need to do?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll let,
Yes,
I guess I'll let
that's
legal
correct.
talk, so I
That is
should,
correct.
I
That
should
is
be
correct.
quiet.
No, that's correct.
But the revolving fund, ultimately, we get paid. I mean, we pay into the they give us the money, we pay into the revolving fund from the ratepayers.
Correct.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a loop of money.
Right. Just, okay. And maybe this is an offline conversation, because especially talking about since 2019 or whatever, I haven't been here that long. But, did something get really messed up in the Evergreen
big floods.
Farmington drain to make a consent order?
There were obviously series of sanitary sewer overflows.
Sure.
There are capacity issues in the system, which we're trying to correct. We're negotiating with GLEWA to get more capacity, tighten up the system. We've TV'd the system and made repairs. And also, engineering-wise, we're changing the flow levels in the pipe, where with this additional capacity, we can put more flow in the pipe, changing what they call the hydraulic gray line, in other words, the pressure on the system. We can take more water and correct the flows here, so hopefully we don't have any more of those.
Okay.
And a piece of what we're doing is getting more capacity by way of buying it from GLEWA. So this system has two improvements. One is the pipes and the fixes we're putting in, but also the fact that we have contracted with GLEWA to send more of our flow from this system to them. Is that correct?
Correct, because of the corrections we made, we're gonna take that flow and we're limited to our capacity now and increase the capacity and take that new flow downstream to be treated and follow in accordance with the consent order.
And GLEWA is happy to take the extra volume.
Yes.
Happy might not be
Happy.
right, but willing to.
They're willing.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner?
No, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Smith-Charles?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Pulling on my inner Commissioner Whitebird, I'd have to ask Stephen to tell us about the rates. Especially since we're finding
Sure. Well, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity here. This is a state revolving fund loan. So the interest rate is fixed. So this one is 2.5% for 20 years. If we were issuing this in the public market, we would expect for that rate to be likely somewhere between 3.90 and 4% if we issued them today. So this is a subsidized rate and certainly the lowest cost of financing available to the drainage district in the current market.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you for that. If there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote. Motion carries. Thanks very much.
Thank you all.
Item 8B is Presbyterian Village, Oakland Woods III, 4% brownfield redevelopment plan located in the city of Pontiac.
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Smith-Charles, supported by Commissioner Spiz.
Go Lions.
I'm excited.
Oh, God.
Good morning, Commissioners, or good afternoon officially.
Oh, is it? Yeah, 2 exactly.
This is two separate projects, one right after each other on the agenda. This is what we call a twinning project with partnering with MSHDA for low-income housing tax credits. If you remember correctly, back in 2023, the brownfield law changed in Michigan, allowing housing TIF to be collected as part of brownfield eligibility for brownfield. The first project in front of us is a 4% project, 4% LIHTC project for the Presbyterian Village in the city of Pontiac. The project itself is at Auburn and Updike. There's already a pre-existing project for Presbyterian Village. This is an expansion, these two separate projects. The 4% project is an expansion on 27 acres. It's going to create 32 cottage-style units. It's a $14 million overall project. The target audience for this is 60% AMI or annual median income and below. The payback period is 30 years for $6.4 million in missing income or missing rent for the developer. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Commissioner Cabell?
Since this is a LIHTC and has a 30-year repayment that's covering the rents, will there be a point where the affordability is anticipated to expire?
Great question. That is a good question.
There's just a bunch of words, no graphs, so I couldn't tell. Yeah, question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can
Okay.
find that out and get back with you.
Okay.
This is, so just, I'm new to the MSHDA world. Like I said, this is something that's come as of the end of 2023. So I'm getting to know MSHDA, the MSHDA programs myself. I'm the brownfield guy, so this is new to me. So I will find that out and I will get back with you.
Usually there is an expiration, which is just how it goes.
Sure.
That's just, just living in the affordable housing world.
Sure.
After 15 years, all these people will then have to confront the developer and either find a new place to live or
Sure.
negotiate. Yeah. But we'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you let us all know that answer
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
somehow?
I'll
Thank
get
you.
back, yeah.
Any other questions? Commissioner Powell?
I just wanted to say, I'm excited about this, and I'm just excited that we can assist in this development project. So thank you, if it passed.
All right, if there's no other comments, let's prompt the vote, please.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays?
Okay, motion carries.
And this one's
Moving right into the other one, the Presbyterian Village, Oakland Woods 3, 9% brownfield redevelopment plan located in the city of Pontiac. Moved by Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Smith-Charles. Again.
Sure. Okay, so this is the second part of it. This is the 9% component of the two projects. This is an expansion on the 6.77 acre parcel of the property. This is actually 52 units. 12 of the units are 12 cottage-style units, just like the previous project. And then there's 40 units of garden-style apartments. This particular project is targeting, the garden-style units are for 45% AMI and below. And 1 and 2 bedrooms are 80% AMI and below. Overall investment by the developer is $18 million. The missing income for reimbursement to the developer is $8.3 million over a 30-year payback period. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody? Questions? Let's prompt the vote.
So, Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith Charles.
you don't have to hear you.
Nobody told me I had to hear
Just
just
me?
you.
It's already set.
Darn, I wanted to do
Oh,
it.
let me see if my e-bill comes up. There we go. Mine didn't come up.
All right, yes. All right, motion carries.
Yeah, you
That concludes the items from Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee. Next up, we have our
Thank you.
Public Health and
Thank you.
Safety Committee.
And I'll find those answers.
Thanks for coming today. All right, so item A is the request for allocation of the opioid settlement funding. Moved by Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Cavell. We have Madiha on the video and Barb and Leanne, Barb Hanley and Leanne Stafford. So good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Thank you. How about you guys?
They were here yesterday.
Good. So, thank you so much for having us on the agenda. I'm Madiha Tariq, Deputy County Executive, and I oversee health and public services, which are led by Barb and Leanne here. We, in the last year, have done a lot of groundwork on creating a plan for our opiate settlement dollars. And one of the, I know that we will be coming back to you for with more information, but I wanted to make sure we took this chance to speak to you about, give you a little bit of a refresher on what the Opiate Settlement Committee does, and then we have a request today as well. So thanks to the board, we were able to stand up an Opiate Settlement Committee. Last year, the goal of which was to reduce the incidence of overdose deaths and to address the misuse and abuse of opiate products through practices that are evidence-based, transformational, and sustainable. This steering committee is extremely diverse and impactful in helping us make our decision. Our committee currently is 15 members. I serve as a chair, and Barb and Leanne serve as co-chairs with me. And we have folks from the schools, from our 2 different hospital systems, from the unions, from mental health, people with lived experience, housing, the sheriff's office, people who are working in outreach on the streets. We really have been very intentional about making sure that these stakeholders represent all aspects of folks that are impacted by the opiate overdose crisis. The funding, just as a backlog, the funding from the opiate settlement money can be used for treatment prevention and other strategies, such as supporting first responders, leadership, planning, coordination, training, research. And one of the first things we did with your approval last year was to hire our epidemiologist who has been working not just to bring data to the stakeholders that are in the Opiate Steering Committee, but also has been working closely with some of the other committees that exist, such as the OFR, which is the Opiate Fatality Review. So she's been working through public health, through our medical examiner's office, through the work that we do with our partner agencies to ensure that every person in the Opiate Steering Committee is making an informed decision based on what's going on right now. And we've also stood up a dashboard that is public, and we can certainly share that site for anybody that's interested. It's through our ogov.com site that gives you up-to-date data and strategy development on the opiate crisis and opiate settlement discussions. So just to summarize, as we go on to our request, we have established a committee thus far. We talked to you about the listening sessions and the town halls that we did across the county in high impact areas. So we have data from that. We also work with the police chiefs and community partner organizations to get their feedback. And we have actually, one of the craziest things was we created this map with our epidemiologist that is a map of Oakland County. And she used, Google, I don't know, whatever, some technology, right, to figure out all the recovery treatment as well as prevention locations that exist in Oakland County. And there were over 300 dots on this map. And yet we still have had a 256% increase in overdose deaths in this county, right? So we know that their mark is missing here. So one of the biggest questions we had to ask ourselves is, what is going on? Why are there are resources, why aren't people getting to those? And then, this is what, these kind of conversations is what helped us identify some of the key strategy and priority areas, which I'm going to hand over to Barb to talk about.
Thanks, Medea. Good afternoon, everyone. Barb Hankey, Director of Public Services. So as part of the settlement funds and the documents associated with that federal settlement, there was something that's called Exhibit E. And in that exhibit, it outlined course abatement strategies that were given as things counties could do in the use of the money. And so part of what we did in the committee is looked at those strategies and try to prioritize the strategies that we felt were most appropriate for Oakland County. And so we decided to focus on a few things. Number one, to enhance staffing and infrastructure. We knew, and we learned from the ARPA money, that we could give out a lot of grants, small grants, to a bunch of agencies, but when that money runs out, then what? And so we really wanted to be intentional and focus more on building infrastructure and doing things that would help the entire field in this battle against the opioid epidemic. We also wanted to focus on the expansion of harm reduction. We understand that we need to meet people where they are at. Not everyone is ready to go directly into treatment, but if we meet them where they're at, the hope is that we can slowly work with them, gain their trust, and get them to move to a place of recovery. We want to expand warm handoffs and recovery services. We know when people do decide to enter into recovery, sometimes that's a very short window, and we need to act on it very quickly and be able to facilitate those direct handoffs into recovery services. And we also want to focus on the expansion of prevention services. We know we need to get out in front of this, and that starts with education and prevention services before individuals even engage in opioid use. So those are the strategies that the committee has voted on and are our priority. And I'm going to turn it over to Leanne, because based on those priorities, we have a couple of funding requests.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, it's afternoon now. It's 12:15. Good afternoon. Leanne Stafford, Director of Health and Human Services. So our ask in front of you today really is three asks that really looks at some of our strategies and some of our needs right now. And so one of them is to create a nurse practitioner, or we call them clinical health specialists here in the health division. And so what we're looking to do is expand the coverage that we have in our downtown Pontiac location. And so currently we have a small team of clinicians there and a social worker in that clinic. And what we are starting to see is people that need maybe a little bit higher level of care do not trust the system to go into like a doctor's office or a clinic to get some minor issues taken care of. One of them is wound care. We have been providing some wound care in our harm reduction office, but a lot of times that needs to be handled by a physician or a doctor. And so by upgrading one of our nurses to a nurse practitioner, she'll be able to do this work right in the clinic when someone presents. In addition, we've had some situations where our clients have been ready to go to treatment, and unfortunately, they do not have the medication to help take care of their diabetes or some other situation, and therefore, it actually, they are not able to go into treatment. And so then, again, they change their mind, right? And so we can use this nurse practitioner to help these individuals for many, many reasons. I think we've talked about this before. We have over 900 clients that see us in our downtown location. And so the other thing to know is we don't just do harm reduction services, right? We do so many things. This is really our entry point into services for Oakland County. We do immunizations there, right? We do STI testing there. So we have a full care that we can provide at that clinic. So the one ask is that we are taking one of our existing nurse positions, public health nurse 3 positions, and what we're asking for is that the opioid money just pays for the difference to make it an NP. And that's just over 70, I think it's around 70,000 to make that happen. And so we will actually take on most of the cost in Health and Human Services and just asking to upgrade that position. The next thing we're asking for is to purchase what we're calling an FTIR machine. And what that does is it recognizes drugs in residual of some kind of either a baggie or a needle that someone may bring in. What we can do currently is the only way we can detect these drugs is in the medical examiner's office. And so when a medical examiner does a toxicology of someone that has come to their office deceased, that's the only way we can identify drugs that are actually on the street at this point. So this device will actually be in our downtown office, and our nurses will be trained specifically on how to take the samples and be able to test them. And in return, we can use that to educate clients in the community of what drugs are in our community. And so Steve Norris was here yesterday to really talk about how him and his team can use this data as well as they're out on the streets with their crisis prevention team. And so we will be working hand in hand with our community partners as well to be able to educate people. And the last ask that we have is a resource directory, and I'm going to send it back over to Barb because she is more familiar with this piece. So.
Thanks, Leanne. So this last ask is to help us build what we're calling a resource directory. And the beauty about this is it will be a web-based directory that will be able to be accessed by anyone, whether it's the public or providers or county employees. What we have in Oakland County is we have a lot of resources available to individuals. The problem is that the public and the individuals who need them don't always know where they're at or how to get to them. And so they may do a Google search and they'll start calling around to different agencies only to find that, that agency is closed or they're not eligible for that funding. And once that happens to a person 2 or 3 times, they stop calling and potentially miss out on an opportunity to receive the help and services they need. So the idea is that this directory, individuals could click on the directory. It would be a comprehensive database of all the services that are available in Oakland County. They would be able to search based on different criteria, potentially even their insurance and eligibility requirements. And this is a project that we're doing a very similar one on the juvenile side through ARPA money. And all the providers and the public that we have worked with have said that this would be a very valuable resource because it would be what we're calling sort of the one source of truth that would be updated in real time and accurate and correct, and everybody would have the same information about the various providers throughout Oakland County.
Thanks, Divine.
Okay.
That way.
That was a lot. I'll open it up to the floor. Commissioner Spiz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies, good to see you again.
Right.
A few questions.
Why didn't want to be here in person?
Few questions and a request, how's that? For the new position, since you're only covering the delta with the settlement funds, is that gonna be in next year's budget plan to cover that entire delta at this point going forward? So we should expect an increase next year, or are you looking to use the settlement to continue to cover that long-term?
Our plan was to continue to cover the existing nurse practitioner position and then ask us to cover through the opioid funding each year that additional amount. So we're not planning on asking for the additional funding out of general fund.
Okay, thank you. Second point is more a request. Once you get this new piece of equipment in place, can you invite me and any others that would like to come see it in use? See it used?
Yeah, I had to look up Google.
We would love that. We want people to come see our downtown location. So when it's set, we will let you all know so you can see the whole operations.
Thank you, I do appreciate that. And the third one, I fully support this new directory. It's something I think would be beneficial. The only question I have is, you said it's web-based. Is it a current software we're gonna buy, or are we creating it ourselves?
So the database is being created, but we're integrating this within a larger project, which Leanne's team over at Health is heading up, and they're buying a software package that will help them case manage individuals that reach out for help. And this directory will populate that database with all the resources within Oakland County. So it's sort of a standalone project, but it is part of a larger initiative that we're trying to roll out.
Thank you. You
And
answered.
we are using a grant to purchase that software, so.
Great,
just
thank
so
you.
Okay, Commissioner Powell?
And I just want to alert my colleagues that I know that we are also exploring a move option with our current location. Because we're looking for expansion, and also we did have some local complaints, but for the most part, it's just more the expansion. And because we have the Honor Community Clinic moving literally right around the corner, that was one of the locations that at least I asked our team here to vet out and just see if that's a potential location for a move, but just to let you know. But I did go visit the current site. It is a great location, and it's very small, so I'm just still happy that even with the size, we're still able to help the people. So I just want to let that be clear, because I know they'll be coming back to give us a report as to what that, how that looked for us moving forward, and the lease is up on the building by September. So if anything, the changes occur by September. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavell?
I just, I guess, yesterday I asked, so I'm gonna ask again, but also now that we have this new agenda item at the bottom of our agenda of, if I'm reading it right, you having to cut your budget by over $2 million today, or last week. Why are you reclassifying a position and not creating a new position? Especially in light of the fact that you have these budget cuts that I imagine this is the first of many.
Yeah, again, we were trying to be very fiscally responsible. We have existing nurses that have this classification, right? You have to have a certain licensure in school to be an NP. And so our goal was to use an existing position to, and just upgrade. Again, that was before the budget cuts we received, but again, still looking at opportunities because we do have individuals that are in the harm reduction office that can likely be upgraded to this position.
Okay. And then just one last thing, which is, after yesterday I looked around and it seems as though from what I've found, most of the other communities in Michigan that have opioid settlement like task forces have commissioners on it or people that hold the purse strings. And so layering on top the people that think about the money, your budget's getting cut, you're reclassifying and creating, instead of creating a new position to help protect your budget. I know this, maybe I'm saying too much to the finance people right here, but like, I don't know, any consideration to that? in light of, again, the first of what could likely be many cuts. So then why wouldn't people just try and raid your opioid settlement funds and or other things when times get tough?
Is that a
All right, so I guess, yeah, like, any thought to commissioners being a part of, right? This, your task force of, right, maybe we're not impacted individuals, maybe we're not public health experts. But you need money to do this.
Yeah, I can jump in and try to answer if I understood your question correctly. So when we were forming the opiate committee, the idea was that the committee itself creates a recommendation of of strategies that we come back and present to the board. So the board is also part of the decision-making process. This way we can engage all the board members that that obviously represent all the different constituents across the county. So that's why we had created this stakeholder group on one side that can actually help bring the strategy recommendations forward to you all.
Okay, anybody else?
All right.
Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Separation of powers.
Fair enough, there you go.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
You.
Okay, we're just trying to move along here quickly. So item 10 is communications, 10A is follow-up on investment report, and 10B is a follow-up on government-to-government service agreements. I'll take a motion to move both, right? We're just receiving and filing these.
Yep, we do have a speaker though for one of the items, just to
Okay.
kind of allow the commissioners a little bit more information.
All right, I need a second. Commissioner Spiz, I think,
Okay.
moved it, right? And Commissioner Taylor supports, okay.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Paul Zelenak, I'm the investment administrator for Treasury here. Good to meet you all. And just to, the report submitted is response to this committee's question on the last meeting regarding the county retirement and road retirement investment portfolio. If there's any questions, I'm here to respond.
Commissioner Spiz.
Big Madam Chair, good to see you. Since it was my question, I thought I'd follow up. I read it. So based on the report that you submitted in communications, all of our investments in real estate are in real estate-backed funds. They're not in specific real estate, like a piece of property itself. We're just in an overall fund that invests in real estate.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's
that's what I just want to clarify.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
No casinos, right? We have money in BlackRock, which owns the casino.
That's correct, that's different.
It's different.
There's also a subcommittee of the retirement board that looks specifically at the investments.
Understand.
We had a discussion about 2 years ago on whether we had any investments in Russian companies. And there was an analysis done and adjustments made. But we didn't have a lot of money in Russian investments, but it was a question to ask at the time.
Yeah.
And so there is a smaller subcommittee that handles that on the retirement board.
Who's in a hurry here? What are you talking about, Russia?
Alright.
I have a
Now he has a Russia
Commissioner
question.
Cavell.
Well, this is for Commissioner Spiz. What is the interest or like why care about real estate? What's the point of this?
Oh, directed to me, your question?
Yeah.
Well, they stood out as large investment pieces within the pie chart anyway.
Okay.
But if they're part of another investment portfolio, I'll say, that they're just separating that out and just to give us different categories.
Okay.
So I just want to, did we have a piece of property sitting out there
Gotcha.
in Oakland County that we own that's part of that investment, or is it something else? Was really my look.
Okay.
So it seems like it's in a portfolio, so I'm okay.
Okay.
Alright. Any other comments or questions?
I might want to see.
All right, so we're going to prompt the vote on receiving and filing the two communications.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you're doing great. And if you wanted to do a quick recess, that's okay.
I'll take it. pulse of the committee.
I have to, you have me till 1.
Just think of 20 minutes.
0 days.
Okay, communications
And
have
amend
been
the
approved.
agenda.
All right,
Leave me here all night.
next item, item 11 is presentations. We actually have 2 presentations and an update on another item. So do you guys wanna take a 2-minute break here? Or do you wanna just keep going? Raise your hands. Do you wanna keep going? Okay, take a break?
Yolanda, it's kind of tied, so.
Roll Tide.
I wins.
We'll keep going. Cause I have a meeting after this, so.
Yeah, so do I.
You guys have
Okay.
parks
Yes, we have
after
parks.
this?
Okay.
Okay,
But also I don't have one.
I didn't get my
Yeah, well,
lunch.
they're good.
I got something at 1 is what I said.
And then you have 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I may do that,
Just wanted to.
just to keep the Queens people on track. I thought it was at 1:30, but it's at 12:30.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
Maybe after this one.
Yeah, but Lenny can run this meeting if I'm not here. So,
She's a tough,
Pressure.
chairwoman.
She is. She gavels us a lot.
about Lenny, I have asked her to be our permanent
She's like-
representative on the retirement board.
Separate these
Because
two.
she's better qualified than I am and it's good, so just so you all know that.
Thank you.
Okay, item 11A is an update from the procurement division.
Yes, so Deputy County Executive Carlson and have oversight responsibilities for procurement and also share those with Brian Leffler and
I need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles, supported by Commissioner Powell. Okay.
all right, thank you. So I'm happy, we've got a couple of new procurement folks running the team across the street and a lot of new things that are taking place. So our chief procurement officer is Aaron Wagner. And then Alicia is our procurement manager as well. So we are glad that they are on the team and making a lot of changes in regards to our procurement operations. So they're gonna walk you through this deck today, and this is just kind of part 1 of what they're working on, but a very important part of what we're doing over in County Executive Coulter's administration. Aaron?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing us the time to bring this presentation to you. This is really kind of a level set. I've been here about 6 months, and so getting into the system, really just understanding where we're at, I wanted to at least present my findings. And as Sean had said, this is kind of the first of a series of things I hope to bring forward to you. Just as an introduction, running down what we'll be discussing today. Alicia, do you wanna introduce our team?
Sure. So in purchasing, the way we're set up right now, Erin is the chief procurement officer, program procurement manager. And then we have Paula Reyes, who is the chief of purchasing, and she is 5, although there's 4, but there'll be another buyer starting at the end of this month. So she's responsible for each of the buyers and the oversight of the work that they're doing. Lisa Courier is a supervisor within the group as well, and her team really kind of handles like the back end processing through the system that we utilize.
And just to put into context, so the buyers that you see last year put out 263 solicitations. So there's a lot of throughput with a relatively small staff. Michelle Brown, who is a new buyer at the beginning of this month, had come over, but really the staff that's been here has done a fantastic job working under Scott and, helping Alicia and I really get an understanding of the department. So I do wanna, call out the staff and really recognize all of the work that they do.
So here's obviously the Oakland County strategic goals, just to kind of note here that we are making sure that we are incorporating each of these goals into our process and or supporting them some way through our process. We are spending a lot of time right now getting the staff updated and just kind of more education and training, negotiation skills. We're doing a lot of focus on diversity and inclusion right now, just making sure that the pipeline is diverse and the opportunities that are existing, that we have the right suppliers that are bidding on them and then finding new and diverse and inclusive suppliers to add to this mix as well. We've got a lot of sustainability information requirements that are already embedded into the RFP. And then overall, just kind of all of the changes that we are going to be making through our own roadmap, just for organizational excellence as well.
Great. So we have approximately 1,300 active contracts right now. And if you take a look at the chart, I wanted to include graphs.
Thank you for those. My only comment would be more colors.
More colors, all right.
You sound like an amateur.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but.
Are you in executive leadership?
WRC represents the largest share of those contracts, followed by IT, facilities, parks and rec. And so this, I wanted to just demonstrate where of the entirety of the contracts, where they really fall, who our super users are, if you will. The next slide represents the total annual spend of these contracts. I do want to point out that this is representative of general fund, federal funds, and restricted funds. So this is a totality of it. And then these top 10 departments represent 90% of the overall spend. So, you know, if you look at the previous slide, you see the super users, it really does bleed over, showing that, hey, WRC last year spent $102 million. I'm sorry, last year they spent $133 million. The prior year they spent $102 million. And also that represents some of the increase over the $264 million between 22-23 and the $113 million between 23-24. Yes.
Is it appropriate to ask you, we'll want to keep interrupting you.
We do have a question at the end, but you know, since we're there, what would you like?
Okay. Is it right to ask you all questions about like the reasoning behind the numbers, or are you looking more for questions focused on like the philosophy of contracting? Right, like if I was to ask you, why'd the county executive office budget go up by like 40%? That's not what we're here to talk about.
What we're here to talk about is really baselining where we're at. I'm not sure if the previous director had brought this information prior to, but as we're digging into, you know, Alicia and I have been here about 6 months and we're trying to move the organization into a different direction. You know, these are the data points that we're pulling from, and so I'm sharing what we found so far.
Okay.
And the response to that would be ARPA funding.
Cool.
I do have a follow-up question to that, since you asked a question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Because I know, especially with WRC, some of those are contracted, right? We contract with communities, so some of that spend is due to contracts with other municipalities, correct? Is my guess. That's
So this would be spend that we're handling, the contracts that the procurement shop is.
Right, so contracts go through purchasing, but I'm assuming that some of the contracts that we have with the municipalities to manage their water system will come through us to spend on.
Right, some of it is restricted funding and so forth.
Correct, okay. So my only question in the future would be how, and you guys may not even know that in purchasing is, what percentage of that spend is that?
Yes.
I think, just to set this up, and the question is a good question. What I've asked this team to take a look at, and what has perplexed me since I've been here and looking at procurement, I've spent 30 plus years in federal, state, in procurement for Blue Cross Blue Shield and other places. You need to add value to procurement. And this portfolio is, I mean, Oakland County, from a county perspective, is the second biggest county government in the state of Michigan. I've scratched my head wondering how we've been able to do it with 5 or 6 buyers. You have 1,300 contracts. When you divide that by 5, because generally most of your contracts are a 3-year base with 2 1-year options. There's exceptions to that, but on average, that's what happens. So then you break that down over 5 years, that's 261. You divide that by the number of buyers you have, and you divide that by 12 months. People are having to do 4 or 5 procurements per month. I'm just telling you, it's impossible to do a good procurement in 4 of them in 1 month. So I've always been troubled by what's happening here. And what I've discovered, and even more so since these two professionals have come on the team, is our team has been a great team, and they adopted their philosophy in the previous administration of how to do things, which was more of an order taker. Procurement needs to add value and work with the departments, but it doesn't need to hand over the keys. It needs to manage the evaluation process. It needs to manage the expectations, and it needs to manage and make sure that it's a fair playing field. Our job is to be the referee. And yes, you've got incumbents that bid on projects, and it's nothing against incumbents. We want incumbents to continue, but we also want them to make sure that they're sharpening their pencil. And when the supplier base starts to believe that they don't have an opportunity to win in the government, then they stop bidding. And when they stop bidding, then the price tag of government goes up. And so what our job is to do in procurement is to make sure that there is an understanding that this is an open system, that we have no favorites in the system. Yes, the incumbent might have a natural leg up because they understand the flow of how something is going and taking place. But we also need to negotiate more. We need to have best and final offers. We need to make sure that we are protecting and becoming good stewards of the taxpaying dollars. So there's gonna be a little bit of tussle. I'm just saying it like it is with the departments, because this is a new philosophy that's coming, but it cannot come without an inventory that needs to be done and taken, and that's what Alicia and Aaron have been working on. So you were talking about philosophically, but this is the approach. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're doing and kind of focusing on, like I said earlier, was just diversity and inclusion, and making sure that we are including minority businesses into this pipeline, along with women-owned businesses, veteran, disabled veterans, and then Pontiac-based or small business, and then Oakland County and or small businesses. So we're working with our partners at Thrive to do this. We also have a partnership with the MSDC that I'm actively involved with, and the Michigan Diversity Council to pull some of these suppliers into this basin to let them know that Oakland County is walking the walk and talking the talk, and really trying to expand that pipeline and give those opportunities where they are able to service us.
So right now, the title of the division is the purchasing division. Purchasing historically has been very transactionally driven. What we are looking to achieve and really move to is truly a procurement division. We want to be end to end. So, as soon as the rec comes in, the request comes in, we're involved with it all the way through the contracts let. And if there are any issues or questions between those suppliers and our stakeholders, we're there to help and advise. We are looking to educate our stakeholders as well, the departments, on what our business is, and try and give them an understanding of the amount of time it takes for us to do the work that we do. And so kind of moving into this, this is really the areas that we're going to be focusing, moving off of a purchasing division into a procurement division. First is our people. Continuing training with the purchasing staff. Since Alicia and I have joined, we've held 5 trainings with all of the purchasing staff. Negotiating training, PowerPoint training, Excel training, SharePoint, going into BidNet Direct as well, which is our third-party system that we publish all the bids publicly. They've done a lot of upgrades that we're starting to adopt to make the job easier for our purchasing staff. Next is technology. Workday is the system that we utilize all of our contracts through. That's a cloud-based system that has a lot of updates that naturally happens, but also too, we're talking to our departments and finding out what's working, what's not, and making small changes within that system so we can address it. Again, I talked about BidNet Direct. Processes, this is the biggest lift. We updated our purchasing templates so they were standardized. That's one thing that we noticed walking in is depending on who was letting that solicitation, it varied between buyer to buyer. Standard operating procedures walking into, we have a very robust procurement policy, but the standard day-to-day operating procedures, there are major gaps. And so we're working to close those gaps. As we're bringing in new buyers, we are utilizing those as training materials and, reference points for the existing buyers. Department contract portfolios. So this is one of the tools that looking forward, we've created a report, and I'll show it in the next slide, that really shows the roadmap of where the department's contracts are, when they're gonna expire, when we need to put together a calendar to go out to bid, and just make sure that we're in alignment. And it's a living, breathing document that we're sharing with the departments. And lastly, all of this would relate into updates, recommended updates to our existing procurement policy. There are some things that I've recognized in reviewing it that really need to be updated. There are areas that just it doesn't address a lot of what the current market results in. And so that's a future state that, as we're moving forward, I want to start bringing these things up to you in the next months, our recommendations from what we see moving forward. So on the contract portfolios, we are working with all of the departments to present the roadmap in every existing contract that's in, and it goes out to 2031. The two highlighted areas, really in the blue, it shows, hey, how many days does it take for us to go through the procurement activity on this? If it has to go out to bid, it's a 3 to 6 month process. If it's a 3 to 6 month process, then that will influence the estimated start time. That estimated start time is a date that we're giving to the departments to say, hey, we need you guys to put that bid request into the system in order for us to meet the deadlines on this. And if it's an extension, it's 30 days. If it's an RFP, it's longer. So we're really trying to bring our business and have a much more cohesive understanding on contract management and when we're gonna be letting out contracts and when we need to go to bid. Yes?
Question?
Yes.
I do have a question. Since I see the timeframe in here, 3 to 6 months, is that a standard that's normal in government?
Yes.
Because in my industry, that's way too long.
Yeah,
Way too long.
well,
We
first
can't
of all,
take
we
3 to
have
6
to
months to do
publicly bid things. So publicly bidding things takes at least 28 days, possibly 35. So you've got to put things out on the street for at least a month and a half, depending upon how complex that is. A commodity you can have out, we like to say 4 weeks, because here's the reality. You send in a public bid, if you put something out on the street for 2 weeks, I used to consult in this before on the other end, and people say, hey, I'm gonna go after this, this is out for 2 weeks. I said, don't go for it, they already know who they want. When somebody goes out for 2 weeks, they're trying to cross the T and dot the I to say that it needs to be publicly bid. If it's really an open solicitation, depending upon, if it's $10 million potential solicitation, that should be out for at least 2 months. People need to put their team together to do something like that. So when people come shorter than that, that means it's usually wired to go in a certain direction. So I'm just saying, we need to make sure, whether that's true or not, you need to send the message, we need to send the message that we're open for business. Because one of the things we're gonna start tracking is how many bids do we have coming in. So measuring how many bids you have coming in per solicitation tells you what the community, the supplier community, thinks about your process and how open it is. So you're averaging 2.5, that's not very good. You're averaging around 6 or 7 or 8 bids, that's a lot better. And so we need to do that. So that's one of the things. And then there's an evaluation process. If it's an IFB, it's a lot shorter time frame, because it's, hey, we need to make a determination on who's responsive and responsible. And then, once we figure that out, then the price dictates. If it's an RFP, then there's negotiations and other things that take place. The other thing is we're a little bit long in the tooth on contract development with legal, and we'll be working with legal on that. We should have standardized templates from them, and as long as the only thing they should be looking at is if it's redlined. If it's for some reason the vendor that we're recommending is redlined, then it should go back to legal to say, are these red lines acceptable or not from a legal standpoint? Otherwise, the standard template should be done. And I know Alicia and Aaron are talking to legal about that, but we need to start to standardize templates because it's taking too long, especially with our IT contracts, way too long.
Yeah, I fully agree on 1,000% what you just said on standardization of templates, T's and C's and all that good stuff. Just, in my industry, which is automotive, 3 to 6 months, you're way behind the eight ball. You're missing the boat if you take that long to get something done. Just saying. I mean, I know government moves a little slower, and I tell people government moves at the glacial pace, because it does in some cases. But I mean, the ultimate goal is to get things done, the best quality, the best information as fast as you can. That's the ultimate goal.
The other piece too is we try to book in, that contract negotiation, and then too, if there is any transition time, right? And so certain contracts, it may be, almost a 0 day, one drops off, one picks up. But in the IT industry, if, there is a transfer of data, you get
Totally
one.
understand.
Yep.
I'm taking it based on the title, it says days to source, which means the days it takes the purchasing department to actually issue the purchase.
That's the whole process. That's not just us going out on the street. This is
it means day to source. It's like the day it goes out to the day you get it to source it, not the day it starts.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this is, it's gonna be a 3 to 6 month process, end to end. So, yeah.
So data
we're-
source is one thing, but data start is another, and how I look at it, right? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Wanna go to the next slide?
Which moves into our solicitation process. So this is really a drill down on, taking a look at the business that Oakland County does. We've broken our solicitations into 5 milestones. Pre-bid activities, on-the-street activities, the evaluation, the negotiation, and then the award. And really bringing this into best practices. Pre-bid starts when the department submits a request in Workday. SLAs that we're working on, KPIs that we're working on, the buyers are gonna respond within 48 hours saying, hey, we've received this, let's set up some dates to work on it. We'll schedule the kickoff meetings. There has been a lot of outsourcing procurement responsibilities to other departments. IT is a great example of this. They've built up and done tremendous work on putting together schedules and policies to help run IT solicitations within Oakland County. We're looking to pull those back and partner with them on this.
I think that's an IT thing.
Yeah, it is an IT.
Just saying.
Yeah, so it's, going through the strategy, establish the timelines, set up who the team, who the evaluators are gonna be, setting up those folders within the system, doing all the pre-work that we can do before it goes out onto the street. Once the solicitation is issued, it's published through BidNet Direct. That's that third-party platform I had referenced earlier. We as procurement are gonna manage those pre-bid meetings. We're gonna collect the list of attendees. We're going to answer any questions, requests that those are all submitted in writing, post addendums of those questions so it's fair and open. Anyone asks something, we wanna make sure that everyone's getting a view of what's been asked and what's been answered. Lastly, it's, create those evaluation scorecard templates. We've updated those as well, so they're much more robust. They include what are the pre-qualifications, are the bids that we've received part of those pre-qualifications. Solicitation is closed, we've got the bids back, we're going through and we're making sure all the required documentation has been submitted. We meet the minimum qualifications. Procurement's gonna check references. We have canned questions that we're gonna do, but there's another part that during the evaluation process, we will share those responses with the evaluators, and if they have further drill down questions for the references, you know, this is taxpayer money. We wanna make the most educated decisions that we can. We're gonna set up the evaluation team meetings. We're gonna make sure that there is confidentiality, there are no conflicts of interest of those evaluators. We will distribute evaluation scorecards on this. And again, we're gonna do more work than we've done in the past where we're pre-vetting those solicitations to make sure that they meet the minimum standards in order to be evaluated, and then present the information to the evaluators so they can focus on the meat and potatoes of what's been submitted. We want our evaluators to really drill down on, is this the best response for the county? Once we go through, we make our determinations, we can schedule interviews, we can, we'll compile the evaluation scorecards and then move into the negotiation piece. You know, we may pick one top supplier, a couple top suppliers. Negotiation is an area that government typically has not drilled down into. Coming from the private sector, moving into the public sector, it's something that we're leaving a lot of low-hanging fruit, not asking the questions. And
it's not fruit, it's general fund dollars.
General fund dollars, yes. But you know, and the areas that we can look at, it could be pricing, it could be payment terms. We could bring in additional scope. It could be contractual languages. Now, if it is T's and C's, we're gonna sit down with legal and make sure that we're not violating anything. But again, there are many different ways for us to go through this. Also, I looked at what due diligence that we've done, and I really want to bolster this more. You know, check if it's an expenditure over 500K. I'm going to recommend that we check the DUNS number of that organization. It's something I learned from General Motors, that you know they wanted to make sure that hey, if you're investing taxpayer dollars in, you want a solvent company running this. If they're a Michigan state business, let's check their LARA status, make sure that they are certified, make sure that these businesses are who they say they are. If it's an Oakland County-based business, are they up to date on their property taxes? Because, you know, this was something that Wayne County had as an ordinance, that if you owed Wayne County taxes, you could not get a contract approved until you paid that money. Yes?
I need to ask this. So are you saying that we have not been doing that in the past?
No. We have not.
Not part of the process.
Not part of the process.
Okay.
And so these are recommendations that,
Scary.
and things that step in the last 6 months, we've discussed and want to move forward with.
Well, your local municipality do a lot of it. So it's-
And then, you know, lastly, establish the best and final offer strategy with our key stakeholders. Is hey, we'll lead those negotiations, but we are partners with what's important to your business, getting that understanding going in, and then trying to get the best deal for Oakland County. And then lastly is the award piece. You know, we want to shepherd that process through on finalizing contract negotiations, sitting down with the stakeholders, helping set up those, if it's a brand new supplier to Oakland County, helping set up those meetings between the stakeholders and the supplier, just making sure that everyone understands what they've agreed to in the contract. And then we issue our purchase orders, and that's the end of that part. Any questions?
Any other questions? Commissioner Powell? So the event that we hosted, that was geared to contractors and I think in the minority space, it was out at the Suburban Showcase?
Diversity supplier.
Right.
Alicia.
Yeah, so we're planning that again this year.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, great.
Yeah, it'll be in September.
Oh, great. Okay. I just wanna be able to mark it and make sure we got people from, especially from Pontiac, so.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Cabell? Thank you, Chair. When you were talking, Sean, about the buyers and there only being 5 of them, Aaron, Alicia, Sean, how do they then organize themselves now? And what we ought to be on the lookout for as the finance committee if there's these overworked people, you know?
So right now, and this is per the policy, our buyers are assigned by department. And so it creates a little bit of a silo because if you go by category, you have a holistic view of whatever that IT buy is through your entire organization. The department, we have to do a lot of coordination within it. So that's another recommendation that we'll be taking forward is, can we change that language to say, by department or by category?
There will be a need though, but we'll have to go through the budget process. There will be a need for more procurement people with this transformation.
Yeah.
But we believe that it'll more than pay for itself with the return on investment in regards to the savings. What we can't be is we can't be order takers anymore. We're leaving way too much money on the table. We need to take a look at the contracts, and there's appropriate ones that we need to do best and final offer and negotiate and take our time and figure out. And we need to work with the respective departments too. They can't be sharing the hand like, hey, I really want you, Cavell Industries, to be in here. Because I'm not gonna get you to bend on your price if all of a sudden there's a conversation. So we've got to be able to lock things down and say, hey, this is wide open, and be able to have negotiations. And it's just, it's gonna be a culture change. And you're gonna hear some complaints, so be prepared. Some people are gonna wanna manage their portfolio because we were just crossing the Ts and dotting the Is before in procurement. We're gonna take a much more active role in this. So there's new sheriffs in town, and their names are Sheriff Williams and Sheriff Wang.
The A-dubs.
Thank you for this presentation. It was very informative.
Yes.
Commissioners, if there's no other questions, we do have 2 other presentations to go through today. Seeing none, again, we want to say thank you all. Very good information.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
for your time.
Wait a minute.
We're gonna do them all together.
I have 100 questions on Clint. Just wanted to make sure we didn't miss a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are we doing Clemens?
Yes.
That's me.
Next,
You get more, you get double dose. Oh,
next we're moving
Smith
to.
Charles is tapping out.
We have 4? Yes.
Oh, but this is moving his meeting because he's excited for
Yeah, we got a lot of grassroots.
We've heard from you all from previous meetings that you wanted graphs and.
Now he's gotta leave. Tom stay for the graph.
No, I've already looked at all these graphs.
Really want to
No,
draft.
you haven't seen these because these weren't not part of the package.
They're in there. I looked at them last night.
No,
Next, we have
you wouldn't have got
item,
this.
our presentation for
Look
item
the same. Numbers might be
11B,
different, but they look
update
the same.
on Oakland County's courts and law enforcement management information system.
Nice.
It's been moved by Commissioner Powell, second by Commissioner Cavell. Yep.
Oh, we're gonna get rid of them.
No, you're not getting rid of it, don't say that.
Right,
Bo and I will have a ton of calls coming on this.
Right.
They saying you're getting rid of it?
No, we're not getting rid of calls. So thank you very much, Madam Chair. To my left is Bo Chang. He has been helping with this effort. Let me just back up just I'll try to be as quick as possible, move through this presentation as quick as possible. This is very critically important to us and to this administration, to the Sheriff's Office, to local law enforcement and fire departments. When I got here, I did an assessment of the IT organization. One of the things, when I say I got here in 2019 and I was responsible for IT, I looked at it and became I didn't really know and understand Clemis and how important Clemis is to the organization and how popular Clemis is. It's a consortium that's been around since 1968. It's one of the biggest consortiums in the country. And so I'm saying, well, why don't we sell this more? Why don't we sell this more? And then I found out that what's happening is we're upside down. And if you're a private company, what you don't do is sell more when you have a wrong cost structure because you're just digging a bigger hole and a bigger deficit. So we've really tried to slow the roll on adding Clemis customers. We've added some Clemis customers since 2019, Highland Park. We don't wanna turn our back on Highland Park. And some other communities, we changed our cost structure, but we've been upside down from a cost structure standpoint. And so I asked Ken Tice, you guys may have remembered, Ken Tice was our interim CIO before Rod Davenport. This was a project that I asked him to take a look at. Hey, you know, it's important for government to get involved when the market isn't mature, but the market matured while Clemis was growing. So at some point in time, we should have probably had a discussion of whether we should have off-ramped this into the private sector to manage this piece, but we didn't. And so this is where we're at. We explored the option of potentially doing that, but the reality was that the local law enforcement officials really believe in this product. So we needed to know that there was another solution. So what I'm gonna try to take you through is Clemis mission, who does Clemis service, Clemis results and benefits, why we're here, how do we fix Clemis, the future of Clemis. The mission, I've mentioned before, provide public safety with innovative technology and critical data needed for safer communities since 1968. The outcome has been information sharing across all public safety agencies, improved incident resolution and emergency response, shared service, cost sharing, providing services 24/7. You look at the next slide, what does Clemis provide? You can see all the buckets there, 911, dispatching, police, fire, jail management, and prosecutor court. We added jail management not too long ago. So there's an abundance of different solutions. What really spoke to me when I was talking to the local law enforcement officials was the sheriff in Lenawee County who's on this system. He said, listen, I'm paying for two systems. I'm on Tyler Technologies, which is another competing system, and I'm on Clemis. And my folks, my deputies are double inputting the information because we want the new technology from Tyler, but Clemis helps us solve crime at the end of the day. So we're willing to pay for two different products in order. And that really opened my eyes to how valuable this was, hearing the sheriff talk about that. We move to the next one, who does Clemis serve? So when we look at the 50 safest communities in Michigan, 34 of them are Clemis. They have Clemis in their organization. You can see the blue outline is where Clemis is present. So we're predominantly in kind of the thumb region. We believe we could be all over statewide with a different model, but the current model does not allow expansion outside of that. It's cost prohibitive, and that's why we've kind of shut things down a little bit from that perspective. If we move into the numbers, well, here's the other benefits: increase efficiency, sharing valuable data, and members manage Clemis. We've got some legacy issues here. We're subsidizing out-of-county communities. It's one thing for us to subsidize communities within Oakland County. That's your decision and prerogative as commissioners to decide to do that. But whenever we make investments into Clemis, we're also subsidizing Bad Axe, Michigan, Genesee County, and others with that. And that's not right to taxpayers. So this is not an economically sustainable model, and it needs to change. If we look at page 8, you can see the trend lines. If we do nothing and just put our heads in the sand and say, hey, we're just gonna continue to operate Clemis, that's what the law enforcement folks want and everybody wants. This is the trajectory. In 2030, we will have a cumulative debt of 48 million, correct? Yeah. So we've been subsidizing for the last couple of years, and it's only gonna get worse. The only way that this gets cut, if we were to continue on, would be massive increases to the local communities. And no one's interested in doing that. And then you can see the historical forecasted operating revenue versus expenses, and you can see how that corresponds each year to us being upside down. You also have the hard numbers there on page 10, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Bo, who's been leading this effort and helping us, that we've contracted with to help bring Clemmis to a new beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Sean was mentioning, if you look at the trend lines of Clemmis, forecasting into 2030, looking at the historical since 2022, it's obviously gonna be running negative, in each subsequent year. So with that, we are looking at a model, with the authority on how do we actually become self-sustaining on day one, on year one. And there's ways for us, to do that. But also to expand, I would say, the power of Clemmis, for data sharing. As Sean mentioned, this is the largest, I would say, public safety information sharing platform in the nation. And agencies use Clemmis not just to keep communities safer, but also to solve crime. And so for us to expand this network in the state of Michigan and beyond allows us to be more sustainable. There's obviously some key infrastructure costs for us that's, I would say, very cost prohibitive for us to expand today, especially since that we actually host these applications on county servers. So we have a plan to move it into the cloud, which actually saves us significant dollars, but also allows us to provide better, I would say, technology to our members. If you look at the technology today, it's roughly 15 years dated. And so it's gonna cost us more just to maintain the existing system. It's very much, at a certain point, your car becomes too old, where maintaining and fixing and replacing parts on the vehicle is just, too cost prohibitive. You actually save money, maybe get a new car because technology is better, it's lower cost to maintain. So very similarly in Clemmis, we are on a 15-year-old technology. The cost to maintain that is very, very expensive. So by moving to the cloud, by having better technology.
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5, yeah, 15.
I said 50, it can't be.
Yeah, no, not 50, 15.
15,
So by moving to the cloud, again, lowers our cost structure, allows us to expand. And the benefit of that is the more that we expand, we are able to spread the fixed costs across the members. And so by doing that, we then become more sustainable. As Sean mentioned, we provide a critical service to communities of all sizes. Some of our communities, like Pleasant Ridge with 8 police officers, the Clemmis cost today is roughly 10% of their non-personnel budget. For us to increase our costs, it'd be 20-30% of their budget, which then they can't afford fuel for patrol vehicles and et cetera, which means that they can't have a digital system to keep communities safer. So from that perspective, we absolutely provide a community service, a public service for that. More than half of our members have less than 25 police officers. So just to kind of give you a size and scope and scale of why we're needing this process. So as you're kind of looking at through some of these charts, by moving to the cloud, by becoming an independent authority, we're able to realign the cost structure. We're able to then expand this to obviously, generate not just break even, but also generate future investment dollars to continue the innovation technology. So for that, we do have capital expenditure needs. Obviously, moving to the cloud from county infrastructure, it's not free. There's dollars to be spent to that, but the ROI is very, very strong because it does reduce our operating costs on an ongoing basis. In addition to that, we also want to expand this through broad-based marketing, through more promotions of Clemmis and the benefits to its members. And so again, by doing that, allows us to build more awareness beyond Southeast Michigan. So if you look at the map today, we're generally in the thumb area. If we can expand to the west side, to the north, and hopefully beyond Michigan, just the value for the members and the cost just becomes lower from that. So as we're looking to transition to the authority, and I think this is.
Why don't you take them on slide 15? This gives you a cost comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we looked at is if we're in the current path of doing nothing, and just continue to maintain 15-year-old technology, it's gonna cost the county a lot of money. And so if we look at the cumulative cost of that over the next 5 years, it's roughly $30 million, okay? If you look at moving this to an authority with basically capital investments of $20 million over a 5-year period, the authority will be sustainable. All the communities and members within Oakland County will be getting better technology, better service. And also lower cost for them, because right now we require them to have specific technology to connect within our county service. So by moving to that process, you can see a massive contrast from continuing the same trend lines. It's gonna be, $4 to $5 million of deficit each year versus, hey, we have a great plan, going to an authority where it'll be sustainable on day one, but also an opportunity to grow and increase investment fund.
And then, so if we go to the next slide, just real quick, this hasn't just been something that Bo and I have been working with the IT department. We have had a core group, and this core group has been there with us along the way, helping us in regards to some of the critical crossroads of deciding to move forward and so forth. So the Oakland County Sheriff's Office is there in some key departments. A particular shout out to Chief Keller, White Lake Police Department, and Chief Gallagher. They are co-chairs of the Clemis Governance Board. And we sit down with them on a monthly basis just to go over things, make sure everybody's involved and up to date on where we're moving in this process. And they are fully embracing our move from this current structure to what we're saying is moving to an authority. So if you think about an authority, Wayne County Airport Authority, it is a board that is governed, it has appointees on there, but they govern and they're more closely related to trying to operate and stay within budget as opposed to running deficits. And we think the authority will have more. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but the authority, and you kind of explained it, cause now I know the Wayne County, the airport authority, but how does the authority save you that much money? It's not like we're not gonna put a millage on.
Well, what's happening is whenever you have a structure like this, people don't wanna raise money. It's raising fees, it's raising taxes, it becomes political.
Okay.
Moving to an authority takes the politics out of it, and we're putting business leaders in charge of making those decisions and appointing those to make the decisions.
So that authority
Yes.
could raise the costs to the municipalities, it wouldn't be the county claim. I'm just trying to figure out why the savings come from.
Yes, but that's not, the solution is not raising rates. What we're trying to do is expand this and expand the membership, and the membership will help, number one, going to cloud, having a more open structure, going to a marketplace. It will be more customizable, where right now.
So that's saving money.
That's
going to the
saving money,
cloud,
but
like
it's.
on that one slide.
But there's
here.
also some customers that don't join Clemis because it's like, here's what you have to pick, and they don't want all those applications. They might only want a couple. Do you wanna speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think one of the challenges of Clemis right now is you basically have to get everything within Clemis, or you're not part of this membership. And so we're really trying to open up this ecosystem, because you have a lot of, I would say, public safety departments that want to join because of data sharing. They want to share their data within our membership. And so for us, we don't really have a great infrastructure to support that on the technology side as well as the governance side. And so, as Sean was mentioning, by moving to an authority, it gives a lot more flexibility to welcome more members in that don't have to necessarily use all of the technologies that we provide, but also allows us to be more flexible in doing that and really growing data sharing.
All right, and then who would appoint that authority? Would that come before the
That would be,
commissioners or you?
County executive.
County exec. And then how many people are you thinking would be on that authority?
Well,
'Cause there's a-
anybody who has an interlocal agreement
Okay.
with the authority would be a member of that group.
Okay.
Okay, and then there would be, of that membership, the county executive would appoint 7 to the executive committee.
Okay.
That would manage that
Okay.
board. So we're working through that right now with our attorney who's working, and that's one of the things that we have to come back. So this
Come
meeting
back
is
when you had-
yes.
Okay.
This meeting is letting you know that we're gonna be coming back to you within the next 30 days. And we're gonna be asking for the approval of the authority.
Okay.
And we'll have that all laid out. But we wanted you to have.
These numbers.
So sometimes what happens, we come in front of you and we say, hey, this is what we need. And we wanna let you digest this and understand that we got a huge problem here. It needs to be fixed. and we've been working with everybody on what the fix is. The fix is the authority.
Okay, and then when you do come back for the authority, there won't be any additional funding needed at that time?
Yes, there will be.
there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, I didn't get to the last slide yet, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we will.
So this is our warning, or
Yeah.
not warning, but you know,
but what we're looking to
information.
do is,
Okay.
we want the gravy train to end.
Okay.
So, but we need some support. It's not that we haven't gone up to Lansing. We really thought something might be getting done in December. But as we know, there was no supplemental budget or anything passed. We also thought something might get done in DC. That's not gonna happen either. We will need some funding, so we're looking for, we're gonna need $19 million. What we are looking for is 10. Naturally, if we don't do anything, we're getting this money from you anyways, otherwise we're gonna have to.
Because we're in that deficit.
Yes.
And it just keeps getting worse.
And it's gonna
Yeah.
keep on getting bigger. So, but the other 10, we will be looking from a loan perspective and pay that back. So
Okay.
we're not looking for the
So
full
I jumped ahead a couple of slides, but I just didn't understand the authority. I get it now, so
We're
that's
not looking for a
good.
full 20 handout.
Okay.
We're looking for some support. And over the 5 years, we're gonna change the infrastructure in the marketplace. And it is our belief, based upon, and Bo's had a lot of conversation with people who aren't Clemis members, including the city of Detroit, that are interested in jumping on if we change the way that we're doing business. We have some customers like Dearborn who's our second biggest customer in Clemis, that says, unless this changes, we're getting out. And we also believe we can go down the 75 corridor and help with human trafficking and so forth. Columbus and others down the 75 corridor could be potential members in the future. The more members that we have outside of the state of Michigan ends up helping the state of Michigan folks.
All right, good, and thank you, that was a good explanation. One follow-up, would you ever foresee Clemis being generating revenue in the plus?
Yes.
The
yes,
surplus with this
yes.
new authority?
We
I mean, it might
believe-
take years, but
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're confident that we can pay you back, because
Okay.
we do believe that it will generate revenue.
Getting more members
Getting more
along.
members, sharing data, working, having an open platform and so forth will generate more revenue. But we also believe if we keep it a regional Clemis, you're not gonna get other people outside the state and across the country to join this platform. And we do intend, one of the slides there is, we're looking at potential new names. It will not be Clemis. We'll move to a new name structure too. We don't know what that is. We threw some names out here just so that you can see. And then you can see the overall timeline from April to October. But it is our intention, and we've been working with the budget office, it is our intention to move forward as of October 1st, getting this authority officially set up, getting Clemis shut down out of the IT department. Those IT employees that are currently attached and designated to Clemis, we will continue to recognize their full rights as a county employee. And as long as they stay with Clemis in that position, they will continue to be a county employee until they retire. So no one's getting laid off or pushed out in this process.
All right, thank you, excellent explanation, I didn't understand it.
Among the supporters of the Clemis transition list that you have here, I have a question. Mike McCabe, he's still with us? I thought he retired.
Well, Mike was instrumental with us. He knew that something needed to happen with Clemis a couple of years ago when we kicked this off. I haven't seen Mike in the last 9 or 10 months, but he was critical in helping us get all the local law enforcement officials, given his long status as a deputy sheriff. So
Okay, and then is any of these individuals women, and is any of them minority? If not, eventually, I think that need to be visited.
Okay.
As far as the diversity on our authority.
most of these are chiefs, so I don't know if there are other
I-
chiefs in.
But you got an undersheriff, Mike McCabe is a retired person, so
Yeah.
I think y'all can figure that out.
Yeah,
From a
thank you.
historic perspective, but that was my concern. And I don't know if it need to be a big concern, but we need
No,
some
it's-
diversity
yeah.
there
Yep.
in that space, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cabell.
A couple of questions. The authority seats, you said they'll all be appointed by the executive.
Anybody who is, so there will be two ways that you can be part of the new structure. One will be to sign an interlocal agreement with the authority, which is the traditional way that happens right now. If there's a community that wants to sign on with Clemmis, they have to go through their city council or their county, and then it comes in front of this board. So that will continue. If you sign an interlocal agreement, you will be part of the authority and you will be a member. If for some reason that becomes a difficult task or you don't want to have that, you could still sign a user agreement. So that would be a new way. You'll have to pay a fee, but there's a user agreement. I think we miss currently in the current operation and the way things are structured, we miss a lot of customers who say, that's too, I don't want to go through my city councilor that, it's too much of a hassle to sign on. They'll be able to sign on if they have some discretion with that as a user agreement. But anybody who signed on interlocal will be a member. And so we could have 500 members. Those that are appointed to the executive committee, they'll be staggered times. So it could be two position, 3-position terms. And they will be appointed from anybody who's in that membership. And you don't need to be a police officer to be in there. It could be a local city council person. It could be a number of folks that are in there. So it's not all law enforcement folks that are in there.
Okay. With the authority, kind of to what Chris was asking, so that would this authority then have the ability to not just raise fees for members, but also bond? You mentioned $10 million, so I imagine that's a bond, or do a millage?
I don't believe a millage. I'm not sure about that, but I don't believe a millage. But we would look to be able to bond and certainly raise fees.
Sure.
But that is not what we are trying to do. The reason we're in this situation is because fees weren't really touched for a lot of years.
Sure.
And then so all of a sudden we're like, hey guys, we've got to charge some fees here. We're upside down. And so there was an agreement by the group, but we're not trying to have 5 to 7% increases for the next 5 years. That's not sustainable for those local communities. So the best way out of this is moving to an authority and trying to open this up, change the architecture of how Clemmis is being delivered, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then I guess this, maybe because you're talking about expanding regionally and stuff, this doesn't apply, but one, had there been any talks amongst you all about a way to help pay for this, right, $20 million investment? Could this loop into a potential, and maybe the timing's wrong, looking at your calendar, but loop into a potential like public safety millage on the 2026 ballot? That's a great way to help us in all sorts of ways, and this could be a part of that. Did that come up at all, or?
That did not come up in regards to a millage. I mean, we need to start moving out.
Sure.
We don't need all $20 million, as Bo said. We need an influx of, I think, we laid out.
First year, yeah, so we have a CapEx plan over the next 5 years, so, even if we got 20 million, we can't spend it on day one.
Sure. Okay, and then when you mentioned other communities with their increases, I mean, a lot of the communities, at least that we contract with, which I think there's some overlap, so this isn't right broad-based, but they have public safety millages that can go to, and as we found when with the law enforcement services contract increases, they do have money to afford increase. Maybe not everyone.
Yeah.
But just, okay.
There are some increases, but we're trying to be as modest as possible. We also know that there's an opportunity for information that can be shared. There's, insurance companies and so forth, crash reports that are not sharing individual information, but general information that has value.
Okay.
But that is not ours to share. If it's a local community, that's up to that local community. So here's your price if you're sharing information, here's your price if you're not sharing information.
Gotcha.
You make that decision locally.
What is other than, I guess an authority is a way to like de-risk the county, is that also part of this, right? The financial burden? I see you nodding, Bo, so yeah, like we have an authority so that if it goes sideways or it doesn't work out or it takes 10 years for the investment to pay off, that's not the county then continuing to subsidize this authority
That's right.
because it's its own thing.
We gotta get out of the subsidization business. We need to turn, this is a great product. It's just, it doesn't have the right financial model. And the current financial model, and the current structure, will not fix it. Unless there's a willingness by the police chiefs and everybody to dramatically increase it. And that's not the right way to go. And we believe that de-risking it, because we looked at the other way as another entity just wanna buy this. But the police chiefs have strongly shared that this is a consortium and community that they're very interested in, that they've built up over the 30 or 40 years that helps them solve crime. And so we believe the right crossroads is an authority.
But the authority will take away the county's financial risk?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for this presentation.
That was good. Thank you before having this before we have to vote on now.
Alright, this brings us to our next item and our last one under presentations for today, which is the update on the termination of the Health and Human Services federal funding, which will be presented to us today by Brent. Brent, I didn't see you.
Oh, he's been here a while.
Yeah. Brent.
You too.
You have two. Brent, Stu, you have been.
We warmed him up for you.
Good
afternoon.
Yeah, you were
My
here
name
too.
is.
Hi. Thanks.
My
Good
name is Frank
explanation.
Straub.
Thank you.
I'm the Chief of Budget. Thank you for taking the time to let me come and speak to you today. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. Yesterday we received a letter from the state of Michigan informing us of the termination of 2 grants. The first one is the ECL Sewer Network. This is a grant for $1.2 million. The second one is a local health department infection prevention and healthcare grant. Both of these are COVID-related funding grants. This second grant is $2.5 million. I will say that there is some amount of personnel impact. So for the sewer network, we had one PT&E individual who was asked not to come in today. And on the infection prevention and healthcare grant, we have 5 contract staff that we did ask them not to come in today. We were informed that we will not be permitted to incur any additional costs. There will be no additional funding. These grants, I've asked our grant coordinator before meeting today to inactivate these, so we will not be incurring any additional costs. They will be sending us some additional information as to how they want us to handle the rest of these funds, but for the time being, we are not able to utilize any more of this grant funding. To date, we have received 6 months for both of these grants. So for the $2.2 million grant with sewer, we have received $600,000 and we have spent $300,000. For the local health, for the 2.5, we have received $1.2 million and we have spent $600,000. One note I want to make is that the spending seems relatively low relative to the amount. We historically have sent back some of the money on these grants. These are not things that we go out and we ask this grant money. This is money that we receive. So it's not a historic that we aren't using the full grant amount. But what is a historic is the sudden pause of the permissibility to utilize this funding. So I will leave it there. Leanne was kind enough to stay with us to kind of answer some of the programmatic questions you might have related to these grants. And I'm sure we're both willing to take any of the questions you have.
Yes, Commissioner Powell.
So let me get understanding. So we got this letter when?
April 1st, yesterday.
And at the same time, in 24 hours, we had to let 2 people go.
We have not let anyone go. What we have asked is 5 contract staff under that are being paid out of the Infection Prevention and Healthcare Grant were informed not to come in today. I don't believe any determinations have been made in regards to actually staffing, but I'll kind of defer to Leanne on that.
So them not coming in, is that just us trying to figure out how we are going to eventually pay them? Cause that's like you wake up next morning, you get told don't come in, and now you supposed to finish. Like, do we have any that's something else we need to start looking at. This is like real depressing.
Yeah, I don't know if I could jump in if you don't mind here. So we were notified yesterday. This letter we did not receive until after 5 o'clock. We thought ahead of time because we have heard, right, there's lots of rumors around the, hearing on the TV, this has been cut, this has been cut. So we knew some of these grants were in jeopardy. And so we asked those staff at that point to pause their work until we heard additional information. So the 5 staff that are grant funded, we basically talked to Intech and said, effective immediately, we cannot continue this work. And so it had to stop. So again, 5 p.m. last night, we were told, as of April 1st, you had to stop submitting.
Those are contracts, and then there's 1 part-time, excuse me.
Well, the other grant, sorry, we do not have staff on that grant. What we do have, just so you know, sorry, there was a small misunderstanding on that, is some of the staff time is charged to that grant, but they are general fund staff that are budgeted with our general fund.
Okay.
So, but if they spend time on this grant, we charge it to it. That's the difference here.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for that clarity, Leanne. As you can see, this is a very quickly moving.
Very complex, I will tell you, very complex.
Did you have any other?
Nah, this is awful though. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Long.
So I think you said 300,000 were underspent, and then the 600,000, I think you said underspent. Do we have to return that money to the state?
So 300,000 is what we have spent so far in the.
Oh, out of that too.
Yes. And then the other section, we've received 1.2 out of the 600, and we've spent 600,000. That is for the infection prevention and healthcare.
So we haven't received this money yet, and it's just gonna be halted. Is that correct? Or you received it and you're gonna have to return it?
We've received some of it, so we got a 6 months.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I heard the difference. Do we have to return that difference?
They have not given us clear direction on that yet. What we're doing right now is we're holding that funding, and we're not doing anything with it until we get that.
That's why I'm saying that for the 5 contracted staff, stay home, because that funding might have to go back, whatever you have left of your 6 month. Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Gabel.
Leanne and or Brent or Cheryl, whoever, were you able to see then some of the documents, you have to send in final paperwork or whatever by April 14th. Are you able to bill going back to March 31st? Because I see that March 24th is when it became a thing from MDHHS, or are you able to, you're still waiting on bills from March 31st to help clean up the money?
Answer that. I can't answer that. So we have had conversations with the state. They have they're allowing us to be reimbursed until April 1st. So even if we did work through from the 24th to the 1st, they are providing that funding for us to do that work. So through the 1st.
Okay. And then, Brent, you had said these grants, we haven't always spent all of the money on them.
Correct.
What have we generally returned?
So for these 2 grants in last fiscal year, we returned $2 million.
Out of how much?
I don't have the number readily available to me, unfortunately.
We can get that for you.
Yeah.
Like they said that we got this information last night after hours, so we're still trying to figure out the full effects.
It was not like 50%.
Can I provide some context to that too, if you don't mind? Sorry, I just wanna make sure you have the kind of that full picture. So last year, they were very restrictive that you could only spend it on COVID, right? And then they opened this, especially infection prevention grant, they opened it to include all communicable diseases, right? So knowing that COVID exposed some real vulnerabilities in our communities, right? I mean, we saw a pandemic that we had not seen for many, many years, right? Ever seen. And so they said, we're gonna allow you to use this funding to shore up, right? And work on some of those vulnerabilities over the next year, but it doesn't have to specifically be COVID money. So in our long-term care centers, right? I mean, we saw one of the biggest hits and deaths in that population. And so we were using this to try to encourage and work on infection control practices and policies in long-term cares so that when this money did go away, which we were expecting it to go away in September, they had these policies and procedures built up and were prepared for everyday, right, situations in long-term care centers. So just want to make sure you understood why we probably sent more money back last year. And then they kind of gave us the same money back, but expanded the scope of what we could use it for.
Gotcha. So then what is if you have this, but what is our ability or plan or capacity to help prevent or fix communicable diseases?
So we're kind of going back to pre-COVID times, right? And it's going to be our existing staff, right? I mean, we have an amazing epidemiological team, right? We've increased the number of EPIs that we have in the health division. It's just going to be staff that are going to have to take this on. So we expect, right, there could be longer wait times. It could take us time to get to outbreaks, right? I mean, it's unfortunately the situation we're in, and we're going to do our best. That's all I can really say right now. But we have a very talented team that have been through a lot of outbreaks. But again, it will lead to some consequences, right?
So will you not be able to have liaisons at these 146 long-term care facilities?
Not the number we have now. No, I mean, we will have an EPI that will serve as a liaison, but again, it's not a weekly touch point. It's just the workload is more than what, they will be able to do. That's why we kind of loved having this team kind of, hoping to build it up while we had the money.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, are you finished?
No, not yet. And then I guess this feels like the first of what will be many things that will come like this. So maybe this isn't a you question, Leanne, but perhaps it's a fiscal question or just us as the board. What are we gonna do about this? Because it feels like just these cuts is not acceptable.
I think, if I may, I think this is why we're doing, the updates with the finance committee and what we're finding out from federal grants. This is really new territory for all of us. So we are having conversations, trying to figure out what the path forward looks like. And we don't have a game plan just yet, because this is really one of the first ones that we've seen the effect of, like, right now. And the timing is awful. Not getting getting a notice at 5 o'clock at night that it's effective that day is not opportune, but we're prepared to work through this and figure out what we are gonna do. And obviously that will include continuing to bring things forth to this committee to see, what direction we can go in. I would hope that we should have a couple of plans that we can figure out, but those are conversations that are ongoing right now.
Okay, all right. Yep, thanks, Sergeant.
And just to add to that, what I had conversation with Cheryl and with Mike Andrews is that if it's possible, Brett, that we could get a listing of all of the grants, and if they're federal, or state? And then how many jobs right now might be impacted? If we could also include when they start and when they end. That will give the board an idea of what's coming and what to look forward to. And I don't know if you can get that out of Workday or not, but
We are, I can say that we've been actively working on that report.
Yeah.
That has taken us a little bit of time to kind of put all that information together. So I have a meeting later on today to discuss that. I'm hoping to bring that to the next finance committee meeting.
okay, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
But we will communicate as that becomes available and get that for you as soon as we can.
Okay, and will you also have the new updates as you?
Yes.
Cause we know that they change every day.
Contracted or not.
Okay, and if they're contracted.
Yeah, if they're contracted or not, cause contracted is kind of different than an Oakland County employee all of a sudden
I'm
getting
more
called
so
at
about-
7:00 and saying,
Yes.
don't come to work.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's hundreds of people at these
Right.
146 long-term care facilities.
No, I know that, but I'm saying like the 5 contracted, I just wanna differentiate the the Oakland County employee to the contracted too. On that list, if we could.
If that's possible. Okay, thank you. Were there any other comments? This is sad news, but it's very important. Anything else? Okay. I guess now I can entertain a motion to receive and file all 3 items A, B, and C. Oh, okay,
Okay,
I'm sorry. I just have to prompt the vote on those. We already did do the motion. Thank you.
There's 98, 0 nays.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for your time this afternoon. Next, we have our public comment.
It's not here today. It's rainy.
Hi guys.
Cheryl's here for public comment.
Okay.
No one else drove in.
The book.
Cheryl Johnson, Oakland County resident, also deputy CFO. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. You will see in your box, except for you, Madam Chair, I took yours as an example.
I don't want it, so.
Yes. No, well, you might. So this is the adopted budget book that we adopted back in September. It took a little bit longer, but you're gonna see something different in this book, and I wanna point that out to you because I'm really kind of excited about it. So if you go to the departments that you see like under general fund, general purpose, you used to see all of the budget data. And there was no real context. There might have been like the first column that was partial year data or whatever. So what we've done is there's 3 years of actual data in this book. So you're gonna see 22, 23, and unaudited 24 numbers, and then you're gonna see budget
What
numbers.
page are you on? Showing that?
Well, if you look
Are
at
you
like
just
page
saying that?
127,
Okay.
that is, oh, that's.
Different layout.
Wait, let me pick another one.
Give me a.
Look at the sheriff.
No, let's pick another one.
Oh, come on. We wanna go, I got another meeting at 2, we're not
Wow,
going
those
to
numbers
share.
just keep getting bigger and bigger.
No, we're not doing this here.
Yeah.
No.
So let's look at page 160.
Sheriff, don't pick it.
Let's do 163.
Don't get us started
Don't get them
already.
started, I got a parks meeting.
Actually, you know what, flip over and look at page 164. So if you're looking like in contract services, this is the clerk register of deeds. You'll see that, like professional services,
Okay.
in 22, we spent 98,000, in 23, we spent 133, back to 83 in 24. And then you'll see that we've budgeted out 103 to 133. So that's the kind of data that I need, and I think that you need to see that what we're asking for in the budgets makes sense. This is gonna help the departments, it's gonna help us, it's gonna help you guys, because before you just you didn't have any data, you just had all the budget data, and if they weren't using their budget and they were still asking for it, we had no way of knowing. Or if they were going over and they were still asking for the same amount that was lower, we had no way of knowing.
We
But
always ask those
somehow
questions, so.
magically, all these pages work out at the end, and we're really trying to streamline that and make it easier for the departments and the commissioners to see actually what we're spending.
So is that the unaudited actuals? I'm sorry to jump in, the 83,000.
Yeah, so that's the
Except for
unaudited
24.
actuals, the
What they
audit,
spent in 24.
Yes.
Correct? So that's
Yes.
a new column.
yes.
Okay,
Well, all three columns, actually the two columns, the 22 and the 23 are really the new columns. Cause you're
Okay.
getting to see a 3-year trend.
oh, okay,
So the audited, those are unaudited numbers, cause we dropped them in. We just
Okay.
finished our audit and it was sent off on time,
oh, I see, you were saying 24 is unaudited,
Yes.
cause we just handed it in, okay,
Yes.
sorry, thank you. So
Okay.
22, 23, those columns are all new, we didn't go back that far,
Yes.
okay.
Commissioner Pop.
So from,
Sorry.
okay, so just for clarity, so when you go to commodities, right,
Mhm.
and you do election supplies.
Yes.
So the actuals was 13. That's what we
For
actually.
24.
Right. We adopted the budget at the 8.
Yes.
We amended to the 11, but overall for the election year, we spent 1.3.
Yes.
Got it, okay, I just wanted to know how to read these
And you'll
columns.
see, like, that's a really good one to look at because
Yeah.
that one is gonna be different every year because
Right.
it depends if we're having a local election, a national election. And that will also correspond to revenues that we get back from the state if it's a state election that refunds some of those dollars.
Got it, okay.
But before, all you would have is that 1.3 and then you'd see the 8, the 1.1.
Forecasted, yeah,
So it
ahead.
just gives you a better feel for what the departments, how they've been trending.
Got it.
And it'll give the departments a better idea.
Excited about this.
Alright.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that's good, cause we only saw
Small
future,
steps.
we only saw future and always never saw
Small steps.
Yeah.
a couple years
Thank
before.
you.
You're welcome.
I wondered where my book disappeared to.
Yeah.
She's going home
Bring my
and studying it tonight.
It was pouring.
Start studying, Gwen.
Consider it hand delivered.
Seeing no one else from the public, I'll now say public comment is closed. Any other business?
I got one thing.
Just
Just real quick, as we start to do Pontiac project thing, I've asked Chair that and fiscal people that perhaps we get an update and maybe make that a quarterly, like 10-minute presentation, just the debits and credits of how the money's working. 'Cause it's a big grant, and so just helping us stay
It is a
accountable.
large amount.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Which one was that?
The Pontiac
Pontiac
project.
project.
I passed that message along to
Thank you.
Deputy.
Oh, okay, cool. But so hopefully we see from our chair, them coming, talking to us about that next meeting or two.
Okay, okay.
Especially.
Once a quarter?
Yeah,
Quarter.
ongoing ideally.
And
Yes,
And I'll say it's a great time, cause you know, we now about to start the demolition.
Mhm.
We about to have a press conference next week, so I do know that now they can probably give us some updates as well. So that'll be perfect for us to get that
When we
information
start
out.
demolition, you get questions too.
Okay.
Well, you
Yeah.
will.
Thank
Having the
you.
budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could.
Seeing no and hearing no other business, I'll say that this meeting concluded at 1:50.
Long meetings,
Great.